Hello, my dear friends. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Sarita. I know that I said I was going to talk to you on Halloween, which was yesterday, and day work intervened again, and I'm once again burning the candle at both ends. But I had a little bit of time here in this sunny late afternoon on November 1st. Which is All Saints Day. So happy All Saints Day to all of you who celebrate that particular liturgical feast. I have two Halloween candles that I can talk about really quickly. And I know that they're out of season by about 24 hours, but we're just gonna go ahead and power through it. The two candles are from Kringle, one of which is Redrum, which looks like this. And then the other one is Halloween, which looks like this. Halloween sold out relatively quickly, and then in the few brief lightning moments when a few candles dropped back on the website as a restock, I went ahead and picked this one up, and I'm so glad I did because I just think it's a beautiful fragrance. I've been burning these two really the last week and a half or so, and I'm prepared to talk about them, although I am not anywhere near burning through, I'm sorry, my hair looks craziness. All right, I am nowhere near burning through either one of them. Ooh, gotta be careful about those, you know, taking the lid off. Well, Redrum, I'm the closest. Redrum, I'm about right in here. So past the halfway point on Redrum. And Halloween, let's see what's going on with Halloween. Halloween, I've rationed a little bit more, so it's like right above the halfway point. I will probably burn all the way through Redrum, but I may put this away because I love it so much and I would love to take it back out at Halloween. I don't love having these half-burned Kringle candles sitting around, but at the same time, I really love this one. And if it doesn't come back next year, then I can like bring it out and remind myself. So let's talk about Redrum first. Redrum is not a new Halloween candle. It's at least as old as last year. I don't know if it might have been new last year and I just didn't pick it up. So I picked it up this time. Ah, it's really pretty. All right, so Redrum, the notes are top notes, clove, fresh, generic, timber, as in timber wood, or Timberlake, no, just timber wood, black salt. And then the middle notes are patchouli, rose, tobacco leaf. Bottom notes, gray amber, I didn't even know that was a thing, vanilla, musk, and oud wood. So a lot of wood, a lot of masculine-ish tobacco leaf, amber, clove, wood, and salt. And then you have rose in there as a little bit of a floral pop, and vanilla, which sweetens things up considerably, and then musk and oud, again, very masculine. This, frankly, looking at all of the notes, looks like it's going to be overpowering and overwhelming and heavy, and it's really not. It's lovely. It's a wood scent that is kind of in the mid-range. It's a mid-range masculine, but I do think it's got a lot of sweetness, and that is coming from the vanilla, and I think also from the rose. Although the rose here, I don't know if you would smell it and even identify it as a fresh floral note. I don't know that it's fresh, but there is a sweetness and something reminiscent, maybe of like a faded or dried rose. I don't know. Ooh, it's just a real small amount. I think the vanilla, and I know that I sound like a crazy person, but I really think there's probably some honey in this as well that is making it sweet. I've said all along, I do think that Kringle probably over relies on that honey note for their Halloween candles. And if I smell deeply, that's kind of what I'm smelling. If they had said a bourbon note, I might have thought it was closer to bourbon, but I think it's just honey, to be honest. I don't even think it's amber per se, which is very similar to it. I think it's honey that's really giving it a real like glossy, high sugar kind of note, but that's also warm. the way that honey is, yeah? And it goes very nicely with that like kind of botanical floral maybe, but it's like, it's a botanical floral with, I mean, maybe it's the botanical floral with the amber and it's just creating a honey kind of smell. For me, it smells a little bit like honey, and I think it comes across as honey. But you do get a really strong but soft wood smell as well. And I wouldn't say it's so fresh that it would be kind of like a cedar wood workshop or anything like, it's not quite like that. It's a very sophisticated kind of scent that doesn't smell rugged, that doesn't smell raw. It really smells very finished, sophisticated, almost going a little bit perfume. I think your patchouli note and your rose note are really up in that high, powdery, sophisticated perfume kind of realm. And the musk that is here kind of rounds it out in the bottom, but doesn't send it down into the basement and really like hit you with some sort of masculine cologne kind of body care situation. So it really hangs up in that mid to almost high range with those higher perfume notes, but there's just nothing overwhelming about this. Yeah, there might be some tobacco. All of those notes are a little bit, you know, like with the patchouli, the tobacco, the musk, the amber, they're all kind of really close, adjacent fragrance notes. So I don't know that any one of them is coming out like a leading lady here, but they're all kind of synonymous and working together well. I would say that it smells like a complex fragrance with layers, and they're very, very nice. And I loved burning this one. I just think it's a gorgeous fragrance. Once again, I would love to see this come back just as a regular candle. There are so many people out there who are not on board with the really dark, goth, spooky kind of packaging and marketing. And I can't say that this one smells so like dirty or earthy or spooky or off-putting in a way that overtly makes it a Halloween candle, as opposed to just a really nice, maybe cozy weather, but of just a very nice kind of masculine leaning, soft fragrance. I might even say this is more unisexual because with the high perfume patchouli and the rose and the vanilla, it really softens it up almost in a feminine direction. So it's just a gorgeous, like, mid-range candle on all levels, if that makes sense. The only people that are probably not gonna like it are the gourmand people who can't tolerate anything other than gourmand. And if you are that kind of person, I don't think this is your candle. But I think actually that a lot of people would like this, especially if you have some sort of like candle range. You like a lot of different things. I think you would definitely like this. And it burned fine. It burned fine. The problem here is strength and throw, and it's just not where it should be. This lived out most of its time in my guest bathroom, which, as you know, is my candle lab for problematic candles, all capitalized, yeah? And or just candles that are not as strong as they should be, but lovely, and we want to smell their scent, yes? So I did put it in there. Most of the time I could leave the door open though and allow it to kind of filter out into the hallway. So it wasn't so weak that like it had to be shut up hermetically in my lab. And you just had to like come in and like smell it in the space and then leave and shut the door. You know, it wasn't that bad, but I want to say that it was kind of in the 5 range, maybe 5.5. I don't know if it got up to 6. It was a 5.5. And I would like to see it stronger. Yes, it has some very high powered fragrance notes in it that can be overwhelming, but the way that this has been mixed so beautifully, I actually think that it could be considerably stronger without it being offensive, even to fairly casual masculine leaning candles, yeah? Or people who don't like patchouli, all those kinds of things. I really think that not only would they like this candle, but I think everybody, all of us, could take it in a stronger measure. I would like to see this candle at least 7. It should be a 7. And it was just like nowhere near that. So in that sense, like I find it hard to recommend. I'm not gonna lie to you. But this is one of those ones where like if it came out in a 3-wick, all soy, like maybe got a little more oomph on it, I just can't imagine that people wouldn't love this candle. Do away with the Redrum though and the like real spooky craziness. It just makes it a very niche candle in a way that I don't think this needs to be a niche fragrance. I just don't. Black cats and bats, niche fragrance. Only extreme people need apply. This over here is quite lovely. It's a very mainline kind of candle, but also intriguing and evocative and unexpected. So I think it's a lovely, lovely fragrance, but unless Kringle can figure out how to make it stronger, then I think it's just kind of subpar. And that's so terrible when you have a beautiful fragrance and it's being undermined by a wax formula or whatever else it is. It's not great. Okay, so let's move to Halloween, which is divine, but unfortunately plagued with some of the same difficulties, although not in equal measure. All right, so Halloween got a lot of controversy because the top note and the very first note listed is black licorice. It doesn't say candy, but I think that's what we mean by black licorice. It says black licorice. Many of the brand ambassadors said that it was black licorice. Many of them persisted in calling it black licorice and saying they didn't like black licorice, etc., etc. I don't like black licorice either, but this is not really a black licorice candle. So, I mean, there's additional notes, no question, but unfortunately everybody just really latched onto that first one, and then it seemed like a bait and switch when you got the candle and it didn't smell like black licorice candy or jelly beans. It's just not that candle. All right, so the rest of the notes are top notes, anise, fennel. Here's where we are. Anise, fennel. It's an anise seed candle, no question, okay? Mid notes, clove, cinnamon, and nutmeg, all present, all accounted for, but soft. It's just a very nice pumpkin spice. And then there's a deeper and darker element, musk, cedarwood, sweet tonka, and vanilla. Ooh, and it's just right there on the bottom. And when you smell it on cold, all of that is what you smell. There is no question. In fact, the bassy notes there of musk, especially, and the tonka, made me pause a little bit because I was worried. Sometimes I would just sit there and inhale all of this in, like I was smoking a pipe or something. And there were times where I'm like, oh, that's a little bit dark. Like that's just, it's a lot. It's very powerful and it is musky. It's real musky, but upon it being burned, not all of that translated, unfortunately. It's so anise forward. We've had this conversation before, but if you're Italian American or you had an Italian American like grandmother or aunt or whatever else, I guess if you had an aunt, you would probably have a grandmother who is Italian American too. And they give you those pizzelles, or, you know, like some Italian American friend who like gives you pizzelles at Christmas time. Those really flat cookies that smell like licorice a little bit, but it's anise and fennel, yeah? This reminds me so much of that smell, which just takes me to a place and a space, yeah? That is warm and that is just so like ethnic, I guess. Fennel is a very important like vegetable for Italian Americans, well, for Italians in general. Fennel and anise, everything. In fact, I'm not really like, I don't have a green thumb, although here's my palm, at least until it dies, you know? I don't have a green thumb, but this summer I was thinking about it. I'm like, if I really worked super hard, what if I planted fennel and artichokes? because I love fennel and artichokes so much, and they're expensive in the grocery store. And often they're like not there. Like I can't get artichokes here in Virginia at all, period, end of stop. Like there's just no way. Fennel sometimes, but like it looks really anemic. It looks bad. Like they charge you an enormous amount. I would just feel like I won the lottery if in my backyard there was fennel and artichokes on demand. But given that I'm not, because I'm lazy and also don't have a green thumb, it's just not gonna happen. But a girl can fantasize, right? At any rate, close parentheses. Fennel and anise, super important for Italians. And so it just really takes me to kind of an old world ethnic place here with all of those pumpkin spices plus the anise. And it's a very strong anise candle. Unlike that outdoor fellow candle that was supposed to be anise and grapefruit, or actually it wasn't supposed to be anise and grapefruit. I think it was supposed to be juniper and grapefruit, but it was really an anise candle. But then on top of it, it had no strength and throw. This is an anise candle that has strength and throw. It was not scentless, that's for sure, not unscented. But it was very inconsistent in the way that it burned. And I have noticed this is the case for many of the reserve candles that I bought this year as well. Not in terms of the actual burn, but in terms of the way that the fragrance comes across. So there were days where all I got was anise. There were days where I got anise and pumpkin spice, but there was like a significant difference sometimes in actually the fragrance notes that I was smelling, which, as I've said before, sounds exciting, but you know what's even better is having like a consistent, like full volume kind of fragrance every single time that you burn it up. I hate to blame the soy formula for this, but I kind of wonder if the soy formula holds fragrance in an uneven fashion and is more prone to that than the paraffin. Because with paraffin candles, which I'm very experienced with, that's what I've been burning for like decades. Paraffin candles don't do that. Whereas some of the soy ones, especially some of the reserve ones, do that. You're just not sure what kind of nuance in the fragrance you're gonna smell today. But it will probably be less than what it is that you want. There is, and I'm starting to identify it as a soy thing, there is a muffled quality to a soy candle. It's like it's not quite firing on all levels, and it's like there's some sort of buffer between you and the fragrance. And everything gets kind of like blurry and like airbrushed out, and you get a sense of the fragrance, but it's like it's not popping, it's not in bright colors, it's not vivid, and it's definitely not strong. Whereas the paraffin candles that I've burned have much more of a bright pop to them, a vividness. You know what you're smelling, and it just comes across like in living color, as opposed to this, which is just very washed out. Maybe washed out is better. But muffled, and muffled has to do with sound, but kind of muffled too. That's the way I felt about the way that it came across. Now, some of the first few burns were quite good. Like the first couple burns were fantastic. I got it up almost to like a 7.5 or an 8, and I was so happy. But then the subsequent burns got weaker and weaker. And now I have to say that more consistently, I'm coming to expect hopefully a 6 when I burn it. So it just like significantly dropped in terms of my expectations. And the fragrance, when it dropped, too, just started coming across super patchy. And I would love to make this a Best New Candle nominee, and I just don't know that I can, given how it's performed past that initial 2 burns. And it really bums me out, because if it performed high and well, I would have made it a Best Candle nominee for this year, and would probably be one of my favorite candles ever. Because it really just hits me in a special place. Gosh, it smells so good on cold. It's just when it burns, kind of like loses something. And I think it has to do with the soy wax on both of them, frankly. But especially this one, I think, because it really can be strong. And it was the first 2 burns. And man, the cold smell is just, it's a deep, rich fragrance, but it's also simple, but it's also unexpected with the anise as opposed to just pumpkin spice. Beautiful. If you want black licorice candy, look elsewhere, obviously. And there are candles out there that are black licorice candy. This is not it. It is just richer and more sophisticated and more culinary and more ethnic, and like, I just love it. I'm just not happy with the soy formula. I'm really getting to that place where I'm not consistently seeing the performance that I want to see. It's as simple as that. And it really bums me out that Country Candle is all soy too, because now there's nothing in their catalog that you can kind of, you know, like every now and then try the soy one, especially if it's getting good reviews, it's performing well, but like that you didn't just feel trapped, like everything is gonna be soy and you're just crossing your fingers and toes and hoping that it performs. If it's not the soy formula, then it's just Kringle. I feel like that's a different kind of problem and perhaps a worse one. I don't know, because formulas, wax formulas can be changed. I mean, companies can change too, although we're not seeing big changes from like Homeworks or whatever. So it can be hard to right that ship as well, but I am more inclined to attribute this to the soy formula than to like Halloween, than to Kringle, and like some sort of subpar manufacturing process. I just don't think that that's it. I think it has to do with the formula. I hate to end on that sad note. At any rate, you can't get Halloween, but man, I really hope he comes back, especially in the main line, because there's nothing particularly spooky about this at all. It's so rich. It should just be in the main line. This one could be in the main line as well, but if it had to stay in the Halloween line, that's fine. It just needs to be bumped up quite a bit. All right, that's what I've got for you for these two. I think I'm gonna finish Redrum out. Halloween I'll hang on to just so that I can kind of remember it. And I will catch you in the next one. I'm gonna try to review a couple more rapid fire in the next couple days, but we'll see if work cooperates. See you in the next one.